Years ago, when I first met Emma Shue, former shoe designer for the good and the great, and now a personal stylist for women speakers, she was an absolute vision of colour. I can see it now. Playful red heeled boots, elegant long pink trousers, and a contrasting vibrant scarf that was just the right style of contrast. I remember feeling very drawn to her and warmed to her in a second. In a recent conversation, Emma once more wowed me, this time with insights into colour psychology. And today she shares a story of a wacky colour experiment in a prison and the surprising results. Emma has a talent for taking what seems like a complex topic, colour psychology, and making it feel super accessible, personal, and practical. From the colors you wear to the spaces you work in, she gives hints on how incorporating just a smidge of color can spark a jolt of joy, can boost your mind, and can draw people to you. What's not to love? Let's dive in. Emma, what impact do you believe color can have on the joy that we feel at work?
Oh, I know it can have a huge impact. I'll give you a really quick anecdotal story. I've worked with many women in this situation, but this particular woman sticks in my mind who I worked with, who worked for a big, huge corporation. And she told me she used to go into work every morning and drive to work, sit in her car for a good 10 minutes and cry or get very emotional looking at all the other women going into the office and feeling imposter syndrome, feeling like she wasn't good enough. And when I met her, she was wearing all black all the time and big, oversized shapes, really hiding herself. And that's been a very common trait with many of the midlife women that I've worked with, professional women that I've worked with. They're wearing trapeze shapes, black, oversized, they're hiding. And the three women I'm thinking of, and particularly this one, did a wardrobe edit with her and brought some very colourful clothes for her to try on, which felt very alien for her. And she ended up buying this very multicoloured, beautiful, colourful, really quite loud jacket and said to me at the time, "I'll never wear this for work. I'll just keep it for very special occasions." And I was like, "Okay, noted." And then a week later, I had to go and meet her at her office because I'd left something at her house. And I was waiting in the car park and she walked out wearing this technicolor coat jacket that she'd bought. And I was like, "Oh my God, you're wearing the coat." She said, "Oh," she said, "the first day after we'd worked together, I wore one of my colourful scarves. And I got so many compliments and so many people were kind to me and said lovely things that within a week, she had changed her whole demeanor and joy was something that she was now experiencing. And I think there's the fear that if you wear colourful clothes, you're going to stand out and you're going to be a bit of a clown or people are going to not take you seriously. But I've worked with other women who've started to wear colour and feel joy in the way they're dressing. And then they do get noticed, but for all the right reasons. And then they get promoted and they start
Mhm.
purposeful work. And I've got a lot of examples of working with women in that way. So my bit of advice would be have a go at not wearing black, top to toe, add a bit of colour. The elephant.
Okay. So let's then think about, rather than the clothes that we're wearing and the colors that we're wearing, the environments that we're in. So many of us have hybrid working arrangements. So we work at home sometimes, and that might be the corner of a kitchen, or it might be a spare bedroom, or it might be the garden shed.
Yeah.
What colors can we incorporate into these little working environments that can make them not feel like prison?
Yeah. Okay. There's lots of color psychologies. It's been proven scientifically colors can raise your dopamine. Like they can react with your hormones and actually elevate your mood. Okay. And likewise, the opposite. My favorite color is called Baker Miller pink.
Why
It's
is that your favorite color?
so the story behind it is fascinating. Really quickly, a psychologist called Alexander Strauss in the late 60s started being fascinated and he was studying another psychologist who'd discovered what I just talked about, the
Mm.
dopamine effects. And he was fascinated by this and he wanted to prove it at a bigger scale. So he went to this correctional facility in Seattle, ran by these two directors called Baker and Miller,
Yeah.
hence the name. And he asked them to do an experiment. And the experiment was to paint these prison cells, this particular shade of pink. And it proved that within 15 minutes, the people that were being incarcerated, incidents of violence and aggression dissipated. So it was proven that by painting these prisons, and then lots of other prisons got painted this beautiful color. And it's a really beautiful color. And so what I would say to people is, even though there is color psychology, and you could look up the color that most resonates with how you want to feel, it ultimately comes down to what you love and what lifts your soul and brings joy to you. Don't go for what the scientists say is the right color to paint the room. I think do what makes your heart sing and what you want to look at every day, and it lifts you and gives you energy.
So you're making me think, I'm going back to what you said about black. Yeah. And when I met you, however many years ago, yeah, you have been inspiring me and encouraging me to wear far less black. Tell me what's wrong with black.
Okay, so black. Oh, I now have no black in my wardrobe. And if I had to do a job recently in hospitality, I did a day somewhere and I had to wear black. And I literally was like, I cannot put it on my body. It drains me energetically. It's the absence of light in black. So it symbolizes mystery, and it also symbolizes formality. And obviously lots of people think it's very sophisticated and it's slimming, which is just, so many other ways to wear color. And I personally think black in women, maybe different in men, but for women of a certain age, to me, from my experience with all the women that I've styled, it symbolizes given up.
It symbolizes what? I've
Truly,
given
it
up.
symbolizes I've given up, in that I'm stuck, or I don't care anymore, and it's a default, and it's a quick, easy win. Now, there are exceptions to this. So if you have your colors like analyzed, I can do that for you. We drape you and we look at your color season. There is one season, which is winter, that actually wears black very well, especially against his or her face, and will illuminate his or her skin tone and give you a youthful glow. But for most other people who don't fall into that category, if you put black against your face, it will actually drain the color. It will aint you. And if you see the photos, it's really, it's undeniable. It's really amazing. It's not to say you can never wear black, but not against your face. Someone said to me recently, I've got rid of all black from my wardrobe now and only wear color. And I was like, yes. It doesn't just change how you feel, but it changes how people around you behave. I've got a coat. It is the Baker Miller pink coat. And whenever I wear that, whatever else I'm wearing, I could be wearing my dog walking clothes and I chuck that coat on and I will get compliments. And I'll get strangers coming up to me going, I just must say, I love your coat. You look so... I know a lot of people don't necessarily want that attention, but it gives you joy through your day, to go through your day and have a brief conversation with a stranger. And I will do the same. I'll go up to people in the street and go, I love your coat, or your scarf, or your lipstick, or whatever.
Okay. So if someone at home is listening and they want to somehow incorporate a little bit more color into their work life, where can they start next week?
Okay, so what you can do in your home is, or in your office at home, is even if you don't want to paint the walls or change the color scheme, I would say just get a lovely print or photo and have it hanging up behind you. Like now, like all the things behind me, all my trinkets that I collect, and they just give me joy just to look at and just to have around me. Even having a nice glass to drink from, it's all very visceral. So that's one way. And then the other way, from a dressing point of view, is even glasses. My gorgeous pink glasses have been misplaced, but I have these amazing pink flock glasses. I don't know if you remember those. For people who wear glasses, earrings, jewelry, scarves, even lipstick. And then for men, the obvious one is a tie if you're still wearing a tie, or I don't know, just even a handkerchief in your pocket. Who does that anymore either? But shoes and socks is a really good way for a man to express himself with color.
If you enjoyed this, you might also enjoy my Life Satisfaction Assessment. It's a 30-minute program where I guide you through a deep dive into 10 areas of your life to assess what's bringing you joy and what's bringing you down. I call it Derailed. It's a fabulous place to begin a Joy at Work redesign.